Here's that one. All right.
The Joint Committee on Technology and Infrastructure, please come to order. Chair recognizes the clerk for a silent roll call for quorum. Quorum not being established due to proceeding its business. We'll go ahead and skip approval of the minutes. First item on our agenda is Mr. Ian McQuinn, General Manager of Tyler Technologies, and Shane Bigelow, CEO of Chant Files. And I also do not see our DMV Commissioner, Mr. Edward Fraser, will be here for additional support on this, as well for an update on subject question Tyler Clearing House and Implementation House Bill 2506. Gentlemen, I think this will be your first time before the committee, so if you don't mind, if you both go ahead and please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to the testimony that the both give to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Perfect. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Ian McQuinn, I'm the General Manager of Tyler Technologies for West Virginia. So I manage our West Virginia office in Charleston, West Virginia. And we've got a long-term great partnership with the DMV in the state of West Virginia. First, we're going to give an update on the National Digital Title and Clearing House. But I wanted to kind of go back and look at where that started. And that started with our DMV in-state project, our digital titling project. And so through this service, through this effort, we have worked with our partner, Chant Titles, to streamline every part of the titling process in the state of West Virginia, every interaction with every stakeholder in the titling process. So that starts from the dealers when the applications flow into the DMV, to the banks through the LT module, and it will finally be to citizens of how they interact with the titles. Just wanted to run through some stats that really tell the story of the success that the project's had here in the state. Prior to kicking off and really getting everybody onboarded, we were seeing around 60 days for a title to be processed. So after the dealer submitted the paperwork on paper to the DMV, it was taking about 60 days to get reviewed and approved through the 7 different touch points that existed in the DMV. And we worked with Commissioner Fraser and his team to overhaul that entire process. Now we're seeing that title turnaround time less than 1 day. So we even had dealers contact my office when we provide support for the dealer community to use services. Contact my office and say, there must be something wrong with the system. I've submitted 20 titles and it's only showing 16. We were able to turn around and say, well, 4 have already been approved. And they're just in disbelief. So stories like that are nice to tell. Through the process, we've eliminated 5 million pieces of paper annually that were traveling back and forth between dealers and the DMV. Overall results are the DMV's processing paperwork about 76% faster. And dealers, the dealer side are submitting about 50% faster. So from their perspective, it's just made the whole process easier. But ultimately, the benefit goes to the citizen because it's only about 17 days now from the time the vehicle was sold until that title gets processed and the citizen gets their plate and their registration. This effort has made the West Virginia DMV a national leader. I attend AMBA conferences, that's the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators. I have since 2012. And just the attention that the West Virginia DMV gets, the folks from other jurisdictions, other states coming up and talking to them, asking how they did what they did. It's just great to see. You know, being born and raised in West Virginia, to be seen as a technology leader and somebody who's leading the nation in an area like this is something I'm very proud of. So I mentioned seen as a national leader. The Digital Titling Project in West Virginia has received it was a regional and international award for improvement through efficiencies through AMBO. So this is an award program that's not just among the 50 states, but it's also some Canadian provinces and Virgin Islands and a couple other areas. So what we've done is in partnership with Champions, we've taken these efficiencies and through the National Digital Titling Clearinghouse, we are extending those, offering those efficiencies to companies nationwide. And so to do the clearinghouse update, I'm going to introduce Shane Bigelow. He's the CEO for Champ Titles. And just wondering.
I'm gonna use this because I don't think I'm coordinated enough to hold it manually on my computer. First of all, thank you to the committee for hosting us. Thank you to the commissioner for your great leadership at DMV. Thank you, Chairman, for the time you allocated us today. I'm Shane Bigelow, CEO and co-founder of the company Champ Titles that is the partner with Tyler on delivering this to the great state of West Virginia. First of all, we're delighted to be here. As Ian said, the rest of the country is really picking up on how West Virginia is now the leader in DMV technology and removing the friction that exists for businesses to transact with title and registration. There is nobody better right now. And this is a little self-serving, given that our companies have built the technology and put it in place, but I stand behind that. Nobody is better than West Virginia right now, and we're at the world and keep it that way. I'll give you a couple of details about the clearinghouse, but also just to give you some size. Interstate, just this year, over 600,000 transactions have happened digitally. So when we think about registration, means titling, that's how you get to the paper reduction. That's how you get to the biggest reduction, which is what we refer to as the time tax. We've all spent time having to do tasks that we didn't necessarily want to do. Sometimes before Commissioner Frazier led this initiative, might have been standing in line at the DMV, might have been waiting at your car dealer to get you something back that you thought they should have had for you faster. All of that is now eliminated, and that time tax goes back into the constituents' pockets, and they're able to use that time for their families, for their jobs, for things that are arguably more important than the title and registration of their car. And so this is a wonderful delivery back, and really where I think other states are seeing how West Virginia has done that for your citizens. Truly, this award that the commissioner won is the top award. It doesn't get any higher than the DMV world. This is the top. So you can safely say that even the AMBO community is acknowledged that West Virginia is in a leadership position. The clearinghouse bill, to graduate to that, so if you think about the work that is intrastate that we talk about, the clearinghouse bill, as Ian mentioned, now expands this capability to process titles quickly for businesses that are outside the state. You might say to yourself, well, who would need that? So let me give you a couple of things that are occurring in the industry to highlight why this is such a big moment for, that's such a big moment for the state to be able to deliver this to the country. Think about car dealers. Car dealers historically have sold in a fairly tight radius around their dealerships. But now, with so many sales moving online, not only are dealers selling cars online, they're also acquiring cars online. The average used to be this 10-mile radius around the dealership. The stated average by the largest publicly traded car dealer in the world, a company called Lithia, is over 900 miles. All of a sudden, you start having tons of titling problems when you're crossing state borders. No state can put forward a solution to them until West Virginia did it with Bill 2506 that many of you sponsored. That clearinghouse creation allows businesses outside of the state to acquire a license, acquire a bond, fulfill all the necessary obligations inside of the state laws and rules, but then allow them to buy cars and title them through West Virginia, bringing in revenue to West Virginia, but also alleviating a problem that they generally have when they're trying to buy cars nationally, in that they cannot take ownership quickly, so they're sitting on dead inventory, right? They buy the car, but they can't show that they own it, so they can't sell it. Now West Virginia comes in with a proven technology that connects the West Virginia system into the national systems like the crime databases and the other, that's called VITAS, which is another database that manages for all of the data vehicle transactions to come into. And this is a huge welcome thing for that industry in the auto world. It also helps fleets. It helps insurance carriers. Insurance carriers historically had about 6% of their claims be claims that were for total losses. So that's when a title has to move, right? A carrier is buying the car from their policyholder because the car got totaled or it's in a flood or something like that. That number is now 24% of that industry. So it's 1/4 of all auto claims require a title to move. They couldn't do it quickly. These cars will sit in salvage yards, leaking fluids, causing damage to the world, not looking great either. Now, that insurance carrier can run their title transactions through West Virginia and report things like a theft and say, we know that car is stolen. Soon, they're going to be able to report salvage and get that title rebranded into their name so that they can sell that car in a matter of days instead of a matter of months. And West Virginia is providing that solution. So to give you some of the things that happen, we track who's interacted online with the messaging that comes out from us from Tyler. A little bit from the state when you can see it. There have been 57,000 impressions on the internet about the clearinghouse. 8,300 of them, a little over 8,300, were in the transportation industry. Over 4,000 were in the insurance industry. So the message is really starting to get out. Second, the first transaction just went live, I think about 10 days ago or so. I have to be exactly right with that, from Vroom, an online car dealer that did the first transaction here in the state. And that was quickly followed by licenses with other very large multinational publicly traded companies who are acquiring their licenses in West Virginia so that they can process on behalf of their customers. So the volume will take a while to grow in the clearinghouse. It's not a quick change, but it is all happening now at one moment in time where the clearinghouse is live and entities are starting to sign up. And so over the course of next year, I look forward to coming back, hopefully if you invite me and Ian a year from now and sharing what the progress has been, because it's really just started. But you can see it in the media, you can see the earned media picking up. You can see the groundswell of interest there is in this solution that the government, through the West Virginia DMV, has delivered to the country as an extension of the great thing you already delivered to your citizens. So we pause and stop traveling on and see if there might be questions that Ian and I can address.
Questions from the committee? Questions from the committee? I have a few.
Okay.
So how many companies right now do we have signed up that are able to utilize the title clearinghouse? So you may mention that we've already had our first few transactions, and that there were a few additional licenses that have since been given. So, how many are we up to now, and sort of what does that grant process look like, and how long have we even been offering?
Yeah, I'll hit it quickly. So the first thing we did to try to do what in technology, I know you know tech really well, it's called crawl, walk, run. It's like raising a child. You want to make sure you go through the proper steps, because if you start running right away, you just fall over. So we started with a group called the early adopters, and the early adopters were ones that the commissioner and we thought were strong and capable companies, generally publicly traded, so it's easy to see their the rigors and controls they put in place. So Vroom was the first, Copart and IAA were the second two that applied, and there's a fourth one that's in process right now, but it's a different kind of company. It's actually the first private company. We suspect, based on the inbound inquiries, I think there's been about 500 or so inbound inquiries into the state's website asking about this license. Many of them don't qualify, but they're not the type of businesses that should be given this sort of license. If that, you know, as a private sector, I would say that they're not. Many of them though are, and I think they'll be applying soon. The process to apply is rigorous, as you would want it to be. So there is a bit of an effort there. There's a technological ranking that the company has to look at when they get that license and say, well, where does this project rank relative to others? So the early adopters were those first three, and I suspect that that will continue to grow and build over the course of the next year. You guys want to add to that?
No, all I would add is that there's an education component of it also. A lot of these companies have, you know, they've shaped their operations around these titling processes that they've had to deal with for years. So, you know, in offering them something new, they've got to really rethink how their business works from the ground up. So a lot of times, you know, like Shane said, they'll reach out, ask for an audience level discussion with us and the DMV, and really wrap their head around what this can mean to the business. And then we'll see them come back with an application. So, yeah, that's what we're at.
Sure. I'll go for a second question. I've been made aware that there have been some states that have tried to copy this, right? Obviously there's a technological component, there's an implementation component there that puts us, I think, you know, a little ways ahead of that. But being a first mover is a good thing, right? So among the most major questions that I would ask of the both of you is, okay, what do we do next to further differentiate ourselves and make sure that the Johnny-come-latelys don't beat us?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if I'll screw up the saying, because I don't have the best memory on it all the time, but imitation is a form of flattery. West Virginia is being imitated, which I think is a nice thing to know that other states are trying to pick up on this. The first thing is that I think the easiest way to differentiate is through a quality, rigorous process that is consistent, disciplined, and repeatable. A lot of times, technology companies aren't consistent, disciplined, or repeatable. And what we try to do in West Virginia, I can't speak to what other entities might do in other states, this is the only place where the clearinghouse exists for Virginia, it's not anywhere else, is to bring that rigor into the process and say, okay, what are we doing that's better for the citizens and the users? The citizens of the state benefiting from the revenue that will come in, the users benefiting from now creating a relationship with West Virginia that they might not have had before as a national dealer or insurance carrier or fleet operator. And so they appreciate that because, as Ian said, there is change management here. They've been managing titles the same way for basically since the Model T. It's been a 50-state, 51 jurisdiction, including DC, solution that they had to roll out. So it takes time for them to shift and say, what I was doing in 51 places, I can do in one. The analogy is like what Delaware is to C corporations, right? We'll probably all observe that C corporations generally run through Delaware. Well, why? They made their laws better, they made their rules better, they made their tech better, they changed the processes for their people. So what has West Virginia done around the clearinghouse? Made the laws better, made the rules better, added the technology, and through Everett's leadership, added a great team of people that are focused on the clearinghouse. It's the same model. And South Dakota, by the way, if you look at your credit cards, look at how many are licensed in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They did the same thing. They changed those 4 things. They won the credit card business. I think other states are looking at this and are pursuing it, but West Virginia has a lead because it's been under, I think, a rigorous crawl, walk, run rollout that allows for the familiarity of it to be more material to those companies that want to change their process. Right? These are big companies. Copart's a $40 billion company. IAA is owned by a similarly large Canadian company. Vroom is public. These are large companies that have a lot on the line and change these processes. They want to know that they've got a consistent, disciplined process with their vendor. Their vendor is the West Virginia DMV. And I think they have that here. And we've done a good job of making sure that it rolls out, not to grab market share quickly, but to do it the right way. And it's been through the commissioner's leadership that those controls have been put in place. So I think that's the first thing you do differently. The second thing from a technical perspective is We do use a bit of AI to help with the decisioning, right? So they can handle more volume. Built, the commissioner asked us, like, make sure this thing's built in case the whole country shows up. So that it can handle that. So we built it in anticipation of that, which is going to cost our companies to endure, because this is good business for us and for the state to be able to pursue. So that sort of next generation thinking, trying to keep making sure that you're leading edge of how this works in title processing is really key to the solution. But the last thing is that we convened a large group of industry supporters. The group consisted of some really fantastic names, not just the ones we mentioned here, but a handful of leading insurance carriers, top 5, top 10 insurance carriers, the biggest names in automotive retail, and a slew of other industries, refinancing industries and the like. And they all came together and held multiple meetings with the state to opine on what they need as an industry. That sort of private-public partnership is not easy to replicate. You need the receptivity of an organization or agency like the DMV here to be open to that. Everett set it up, our commissioner has set it up so that there are people who can answer, like office hours, answer the questions in the industry that calls in and says, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? Because sometimes it's Ian's team or my team, but sometimes they just want to talk directly to the DMV. That receptivity is not necessarily common in most other jurisdictions. Sorry.
Yeah, really not much to add there, other than the, sort of the nod that, Commissioner Frazier, coming in and changing the DMV to run more like business, to listen to the problems that business has, and keep that culture, to keep that way of thinking going, I think is going to be critical to the program.
Further questions from the committee? If not, I'll give you one last one. How much money are we going to make next year on this?
I'll take that.
Well, I think the easiest way to think about it is that change management for industry, and this isn't meant to try to duck you the question, it's meant to say it's hard to assess exactly what the amount will be until you know who the users are that are signed up and what their throughput will be. You can tell by the users coming online, so Copart and IA control approximately 95+% of the totality of insurance transactions in the country. You can presume that if they are successful in convincing the insurance carriers to move to a new process, which is the change that we talked about, there'll be some level of new users, new transactions coming from that. To assess the exact dollar amount today probably wouldn't be prudent because it's hard. It's difficult to tell how quickly that change management, that education learning curve that they have to go through will happen. It would seem, based on the media coverage, based on the knowledge that's getting outside of government, this is one of the first times I will say that I've seen government move faster than industry. Right? Government's actually ahead of private industry. That's private industry, the BNB is winning awards for it before the industry has actually learned all about it. So I know there's a lot of education that goes into the world of the auto dealer community. We brought in the primary vendors to that space so that they can take it out and educate that community. So it'll be more. I don't have an exact number because it wouldn't be prudent to be able to assess what they're going to be until they're signed up and we know who their customers are driving through. So never like another question. I think that's as direct as I can be and still be accurate.
I understand. Ian, you want to give it a shot?
I think that was well said.
Anything further from the committee? If not, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Frazier, would you like to give us any sort of an update? I think you already have. State your name for those watching at home, Commissioner, if you don't mind, and let us know how things are going at DMV with and outside of Title Clearinghouse, if you don't mind.
All right. Thank you. Eric Frazier, West Virginia DMV Commissioner, and I'd like to thank the chairman for sending the invitation and thank the community for having us. I'd like to elaborate a little on what they spoke about, if I may. Like anything, I'm going to correct Dean there for a moment. He said 60 days, it was more like 65 to 75 days waiting on time. Because I was in that world. I remember those days when you were sitting at the dealership, waiting on the title, wondering where was that, and you'd call the DMV, oh, it's in the mail. They always blame the mail, like poor US Postal Service. So anyway, but with anything, COVID brought a lot of things to light. I remember sitting in the office one day after the pandemic hit, and we were wondering how we were going to get dealers' titles. Well, if you've never been a car dealer or in the car business, a title is the lifeblood to a dealership. So if you can't produce a title to a dealership, well, guess what? I think there's 1,247 car dealers in West Virginia. You'd have had 1,200 car dealers out of business if you couldn't produce a title. So that's kind of where this idea, where we come up with this idea, if this ever happened again, how can we produce these titles? So we put our heads together, and it's never I, it's always we. I got a great team at the DMV, and Tyler and Shannon, and you guys, we're all in this to make West Virginia better and to do better for the people of West Virginia. So to give you a little update on the West Virginia DMV, and I never thought I'd say this. I got a report last week. Now this is an average. It's not like this in every office, and we're not perfect. But the average wait time in a West Virginia DMV is 16 minutes and 37 seconds. When I walked in, I said, why don't we get it down to 30 minutes, 40 minutes? I could live with that. But to get it down to 16 minutes, 37 seconds, I'm pretty damn proud of that. So, but that's things you get by, moving things online. Online's not for everybody, but it's an alternative. It's another avenue, another street to take. It's a detour. Almost 85,000 people has taken an online knowledge test. That's the learner's test. Kid can sit at home in their family room, dining room, bedroom, and take their learner's test at home. That idea kind of came from a secretary at a high school calling and saying, we got a kid here that needs to take their learner's test but nobody in their household has a car. So I asked you, how many kids are in high school that doesn't have transportation to a DMV to take their learner's test? So I got us to think, those kids are at school. Those kids have driver's ed teachers. So now those driver's ed teachers can sit in as proxies for those kids, and those kids can take that learner's test at school. Otherwise, that kid may not ever get their driver's license and be held back, not be able to get a job, not be able to drive to work. So that's kind of where that idea came from. We're always trying to think ahead and think of new things. Again, we're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we work on correcting them at the time. We act on them. We try to fix them. And again, if anybody's got any ideas how we can do things better, I'm all ears. Thank you.
Questions for the commissioner? If not, Commissioner Frazier, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, friends, our next item on the agenda, and by the way, can everybody hear me well? The microphone's just for in the room, so live stream's coming off of the camera system here. Next item on our agenda is Ms. Paula Smith, Executive Director of Tri-River Transit, for an update on public transit. Give her a moment to get to the podium. And I believe you all will have a one-pager that's been prepared. Ms. Paula, if you would, please raise your right hand. I solemnly swear that testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. The floor is yours. If you all need to.
Can you hear me? I'm too short. First of all, thank you all for allowing us to come here and present the situation to you. My name is Paula Smith, Executive Director of Tri-River Transit, and I'm also the President of the West Virginia Public Transit Association. And along with me, I have Jennifer Paul.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Woodall. I'm the Assistant General Manager with Tri-State Transit Authority in Atlanta.
If you guys know me, I'm Paul Davis. I'm from Huntington also. I'm with the Transit Authority. Supporting Jennifer.
Got it. Okay, Paul. Paul, the floor is yours.
First of all, public transit authorities in West Virginia have continued an unprecedented level of service with the increase of wages, cost of benefits, increased cost of fuel, tires, parts, uniforms, drug testing, and physicals. With that being said, we've also had an increase in federal funding, which doesn't help us if we can't match those federal dollars. Public transit is a statewide matter. We hope now is the time that we can find a mechanism to provide some state funding to help us to be able to match these federal dollars. And these dollars will help all of West Virginia. The funds will help operating maintenance costs, which is a 50-50 match per transit. It replaces equipment which has exceeded their useful life, which is also an 80-20 match. With our state funding, we currently don't have, but some of our neighboring states have dedicated state funding. If we were successful in getting state funding, it would allow public transit, existing transit, to expand into other counties. Currently, we only have 33 counties in West Virginia that have some type of public transit. We have 18 transit systems, 10 of them are rural and urban, 8 urban. With that being said, the urban are successful enough, they have levies which help them meet their local match. Rural transit, like myself, Tri River, I have service in 5 counties, Boone, Lincoln, Logan, Maine, Mason County. We can't have a levy where we're in so many counties, so we are dependent on local match from our counties. We outsource, do some Medicaid billing for taking people to and from medical appointments, and then we are participant in the state opioid recovery grant where we take people to the drug treatment and recovery program. Currently, for example, in Mason County, I have one 10-passenger bus that runs Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We all know all the new construction that's going on in Mason County and all the new people that will be moving into Mason County. I need more transit in there to be able to move the people around to the construction site, jobs, education, medical appointments, and people also are going shopping. Jennifer has created a brochure.
Hi, Paula did the hard part, I get to bring the fun part of the statistics. What West Virginia Public Transit does is just over 4 million rides in fiscal year 2023. Of those, 570,000 seniors receive service. 319,000 people with disabilities. We traveled collectively almost 13 million miles last year. Paula mentioned we have 33 counties that are served. We provide 604 full-time jobs throughout West Virginia and 125 part-time jobs. We bring in $23.7 million in federal money, $27 million in local money. We do have a few rural systems that get a little allocation through state funding. That's 1.7 that does help so that we don't leave too much federal money on the table. Most of that's for planning and capital purchases where they have to match to get their vehicles. Our total expenses, the money we spend for public transit is over $58 million a year. And if you flip your handout over, on the back, talks about what dedicated state funding for public transit would do for us. It would help bring all available federal funds home to West Virginia and provide quality transportation to our residents through providing quality jobs, ensuring continued growth in public transit, maintain our equipment, our buses, our bus washes, our everything that we use. Build and maintain our facilities. There's currently a new transit facility in the works up in Martinsburg. Provide lasting economic growth to West Virginia. Increase home and business values. When you live on a public transit line in West Virginia, it automatically increases your home value. And complement the new businesses that are coming to West Virginia. You're up.
Well, my friends, I will tell you, these ladies have done such a nice job. I don't have a whole lot to add. I've been with the bus system in Huntington now for 35 years. And I'm one of your homegrown guys. I started off as a bus operator and I worked my way up to general manager and CEO. And I've seen a lot of things happen in the industry over the years. And so I think it's kind of interesting to know what our mission is. Our mission at these transit authorities is to provide safe, reliable, and convenient service for people that cannot get into a car. We heard from the commissioner, students trying to get their driver's license. You know, we can help them. We're happy to help them. But for us, So who are we serving? I mean, most of us here today, we arrive in an automobile. And we can jump right out here into the parking lot and go and have that independence anytime we want to. But our customers, people that we are currently really serving in West Virginia, are the true people that need public transit. There are seniors. There are people that have healthcare needs. There are students that are going to our universities. There's people with disabilities that have to use our bus system. And, you know, a lot of them would love to be able to jump into a car and go, but that option is just not available to them. And I can only speak for the Transit Authority in Huntington, as far as our paratransit, you know, it's our Valoride service, that's people who are our seniors and disabled. Yeah, we carry over 250 people a day on that service. And those are people that are going to dialysis 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. They are people that are taking chemo treatments. What would these folks do if this service was not available to them? And what we want to do, we want to bolster that service throughout the state. And that's the reason we're here today. I'm not speaking on just behalf of PTA, speaking on behalf of all transit and all people in some of these really rural, hard to get areas. We need some funding to help with that. So, with that being said, we need to dedicate funding, help our seniors, help our people with disabilities, our students that can't drive. I will say this, for the most part, we don't have a big community, but we have some. You know, if you go to New York or Washington DC and other places, you know, it's almost a necessity for you to jump on the bus or train to get to where you're going. But in West Virginia, our people that truly need to get to the doctor, truly need to get to buy groceries, they really don't have another choice. But we want to provide great quality bus service to get them there, which they deserve. So
You have any questions for us?
Questions, members? The Senator from Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many of everyone that you're riding in, how many homeless are you transporting?
Homeless?
Yeah,
I don't have the exact number, but I do know there's several in Mason County that we transport to, and I think we meet up with PTA. So I do know that there's a homeless shelter in Mason County that we serve. There is numerous. I don't have an exact number for you, but I can get that for you.
and the reason I'm asking that question is I've had some complaints out of Wimpton and Logan of the homeless being bussed in and then going from city to city. And, you know, it's causing a little, and it's sort of giving you a little black eye, which I understand your need to be in the communities, but you're getting a black eye with transporting the homeless around like that. And, you know, we really don't have the facilities in Logan and Wimpton to be hosting a lot of homeless people, other than, you know, they go into bridges and everything like they do in Charleston. I think Charleston's running out of other bridges, but I just had that question, want to bring it up before the committee to, you know, I'd like to know the numbers on that.
I'll do my best to get that for you. I haven't been, no one has told me about that in Williamson or Logan, been with the homeless.
I had city council reach out to
I'm
me.
the only one that has brought it to my attention. The thing is with public transit, anybody can drive, we just can't, with ADA regulations, we just can't put people
Right.
on the bus. I mean, unless you all know something.
So I'll add a little bit to that. So we are generally Huntington and Charleston, I can speak for Huntington. We've become a destination point. And so the problem and the issue is that some of these shelters, so to speak, will bring people in and they're there for 30 days. And then they'll turn around and then they'll either buy them a Greyhound bus ticket or they'll send them to another city, many times from Huntington to Charleston. There are people that are being shipped to Columbus. And the problem of it is, this has become such a moneymaker for some. And I'm just saying it just like it is. You have these shelters and these sober living places. We have to take a harder look at what's happening in those places. Do we ask when somebody comes on our bus and asks, you know, they have a bus to pass or a ticket to get to go from, especially in the Huntington area? We don't know. We do know that from the appearance, sometimes they look like they're homeless. But we don't know for sure, but we kind of think we do. But there is an issue here and it does need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further questions of this presenter? I saw the gentlelady from Kanawha.
How much money are you looking for?
You know, in a perfect world, we would love to see 15 million to use for local match. But we're willing to start with the legislature anywhere we can. 7 million would be huge for us to be able to expand service, look at opportunities, support economic growth that's going on in the state of West Virginia.
Are you looking to expand into the nearly 25 counties that you aren't in, or do you just want to expand the programs that you currently have?
We would absolutely love to take the current transit authorities that are operating and reach into the counties without service. The way we're located throughout the state, there are opportunities for current operating transit authorities to extend service, just like Paula did for Lincoln County. Now she's covering Wayne and Mason County. So we definitely would love to look at that. We'd love to see the entire state of West Virginia covered. We have been able to expand just a little bit through the state opioid response program, so we can help a little bit with that, but we don't have full dedicated public transit service in 22 counties.
Yeah, do you know what percentage of West Virginia you are serving population-wise?
I do not know the population. Why? No, I do not, sorry.
Okay. And do you know why Putnam County doesn't have service? It looks like their service, I'm looking at the map on your website, which is very helpful. Looks like Putnam is completely surrounded by service, but they don't have it. Do you know?
It is. We have worked with Putnam County on a number of different occasions over the course of the years. I've been in public transit for 21 years, Paul 35, and Paula for 22, 30. We have talked with Putnam County a number of times, but have never been successful.
Are they not interested in having public transportation?
That may very well be the case.
Okay. And to follow up on the senator's question, you said it's a problem that people that don't have houses are riding public transportation. I'm not exactly sure how you're going to figure out the numbers of those people, so I'm a little concerned about that.
About the only way we might be able to figure that out is to try to figure out how many bus passes are being purchased by those shelters. And that's what happens. We're not selling those passes or giving them out to homeless individuals. The shelters purchase bus passes and they hand them out to individuals, perhaps to go to a doctor's appointment or go to the HHR to get the services that they need. Well, if that individual doesn't use that bus pass for what it was intended for, we have no way of knowing.
But are bus passes sold for intended purposes, or are they sold to ride the bus?
They are sold to ride the bus.
So does it really matter what they're doing with it?
No, not to us.
Then why did you say it's a problem?
The senator was referencing a problem with homeless individuals transitioning from county to county.
I understand, but not you, but the other two said there is a problem with homeless people riding the bus, so I'm not
Oh,
understanding
no, we
what
don't
the
have a problem with homeless people riding the bus. I think I think West Virginia in and of itself has perhaps seen a little bit of an uptick in unsheltered individuals and population. But no, we don't have a problem with unsheltered individuals riding the bus. They have a bus pass. The HHR buys bus passes. The homeless shelters buy bus passes. The high schools buy bus passes.
Yeah.
Are you interested in stopping any particular groups from buying bus passes?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear.
And like Paula said, we don't ask someone when they get on the bus
Good,
whether they have a home.
right.
We typically just ask, a lot of our drivers will ask where they're going, so that the driver makes sure not to pass their stop.
Sure,
But we don't ask whether they have a home, whether they have a job.
right,
We don't ask that.
right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Further questions, Mr. Presenter? The gentleman from Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions. You have $27 million of local funding provided. How much of that is direct subsidies from localities or counties as opposed to those purchasing tickets to ride? In other words, how much of your revenue sources from those purchasing in that percentage, and how much of that is from a subsidy?
I would say on average, across the state, our bus passes are around $1 to $2 per ride. So, you know.
Somewhere between $4 and $8 million in local taxes or local tickets or whatever.
Fairbox revenue is 2.23 million, and that is included in the local match.
So only $2 million of that $27 million comes from the actual individuals receiving the service. Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's important to note that the bigger systems like Huntington, Charleston, Wheeling here, for example, Morgantown, Fairmont, Marion, there's a local property tax levy. And in Huntington, we have two levies in Huntington actually.
Yeah, and I get that. I just wanted to know how much of it came from rides, and how much of it came from, when I say subsidies, the levy provides a subsidy. So, second question, you indicated that you'd like to see somewhere between $7 and $15 million in additional revenue from the state. That $7 to $15 million, is that intended to maintain existing service, or is that intended to expand existing service?
Well, we would very much like to expand existing service into some of the counties that don't. And the concept is that this would go through the multimodal umbrella through the Division of Public Transit. There's a number of, so that we can apply for these funds for capital purchases, but you can't start your service unless you have the vehicles in order to put out there. And also to help with some of the operating if we do.
Is it fair to say, though, that currently, with the service that you're currently providing and the revenue that you're showing here, that you're able to provide existing service with the dollars that you currently are receiving from state, local, and or riders?
We're able to, I guess, maintain what we're doing. It's harder for the rural systems. Myself, currently in Mason County, like I said, I only run 3 days a week. Well, it's hard for anyone to get a job and just have transportation for 3 days a week. It's the same thing in part of Logan County. I have a route that goes from Man to Omar. I only have the match enough to run it 3 days a week, which is a problem for people who want to come out to Logan County for a job or to Southern for education purposes. So myself, if I have additional state funding, it would allow me to expand the services that I have already in existing counties. Wayne County, I only have one route to serve the Lavalette, Wayne to Huntington area. I would like to be able to go down into Fort Gay and Pritchard and bring those people out to the Wayne area, which I connect with TTA, which allows them to go to even more shopping and jobs and education. So myself.
My point was just simply that if there were additional dollars, that those are for expansion. They're not for providing anything that, in other words, you're not behind on where you start.
Right.
Additional dollars would mean additional service.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Further questions, Mr. Presenter? The senator from, also Mercer.
Okay. So you indicated that the additional funding, one of the primary uses would be for federal matching, is that correct?
That's my.
Yes, it would be for federal matching. And to purchase new capital buses also, or equipment. Like right now, I'm operating vehicles that have 300,000+ miles on them. I'm sure you're all more than that right now. So, yes,
My question is, what is the federal match that you would be trying to match? What's the percentage of local match required to do federal?
For a capital purchase, it's typically 80% federal, 20% local. For operating, it's 50/50.
Thank you.
and to elaborate on that, on the operating, driver's wages is a huge issue for me. I'm competing with Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. You can go to Chick-fil-A and get a job for $16 an hour. My starting pay is $14 an hour. So that would help us to be able to get more professional drivers and people to come and work for us.
We'll put a little finer question, or point on the question of the 7 million you're suggesting. What percentage of that would be for operational costs to keep up with inflation, and what percentage would be part of federal matching funds? Do you have an idea?
It would be primarily calculated with the federal dollars that we're able to bring down with
Well, if your use of funding is two categories, one would be to keep up with current needs, driver pay, et cetera, and the other part would be federal matching. We answered the question about.
And that's where I think that's where I think the transit authorities would make application to justify to the Division of Public Transit or the multimodal umbrella to justify what they're asking for and the amount and what it's for, and they would.
All I'm trying to get a perspective on is if you're asking for, say, $7 million, how much of that is needed to just enhance your operating costs, and how much would be federal matching? Would it be 50/50 or 90/10 or what?
50/50 would be a safe. I mean,
So about half of that money is needed for current, we'll call it keep up with cost budgeting versus adding cost to match with federal dollars.
right,
For expansion.
right. And like Paula was talking about at the beginning, with inflation and everything, the cost of uniforms, the cost of tires, the cost of everything that we deal with is continually gone up. We have gotten an increase in federal dollars, but that doesn't help if we don't have the local match.
I was just trying to get a clear perspective on what your needs are, those two categories of the major needs.
Further questions to the gentleman from the 88th?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just doing a little bit of math with your dollar values here. The three top values add up to about 53 million. It says you've got about 58 in expenses. I assume there's maybe 5 million in additional sources of revenue, math error, or you're running seriously in the hole.
Good catch.
I thought that was
So
covered.
we've got the 1.7, I didn't bring my phone down to run the math, but 1.7 in state funding for some of the local systems.
Puts you at about 52.7.
Or,
That puts you at about 52.7, 53 million.
It's okay to do a little research on that if you'd like.
we have to do that.
Thank you.
My guess would be it's the urban systems who have the local levy fund.
Thank you.
And we do have some miscellaneous income too. I mean, it's small, but there is.
And it may aggregate up to 5 million.
Yes.
Thank you.
Further questions for these presenters? The gentleman from St. Albans. All right, fine.
Thank you, Chair.
It's nice talking to you all before the meeting. You mentioned that there's a match needed to receive all the federal funding. I know there's been 50/50, 80/20. What is the match that is needed to receive all of the federal funding? How much would the state or need to match that?
Okay, so it's like anything else. And when you go down the list of available federal grants, there are lots of things that are out there that come available to us that we could apply for. And so a lot of it's capital needs and so on and so forth. sometimes right now, we probably don't have a hard number on that. But, we're going down the path of electronic vehicles, we're going down the path of hydrogen vehicles, battery operated vehicles. At some point, we're gonna be asked to step up to the plate and do that. Currently, we're just running diesel and gasoline vehicles. I know there's a project in, Pleasant Valley where they're trying to do a hydrogen project. But as of right now, that hasn't gotten off the ground. We don't know where that's going. But I guess the long story of it is that there are lots of federal grants that could be available to us. And there's some monies that come to us that are specifically allocated to West Virginia. We just want to make sure we don't leave anything. We want to bring all that, those federal dollars to West Virginia. And there's been times that we've had to leave money on the table.
So you don't have an exact number?
I do not.
You had mentioned the issue of hiring folks to drive the buses, and the issue of paying them $2 to $3 less per hour than McDonald's or Wendy's, wherever the case may be. Are your drivers required to have a CDL license?
Okay, I'll help with that. So in the rural system, some of their vehicles do not require a commercial driver's license, like for the big buses, like here, Huntington KRT. The 26,000 pounds or more, and that's where most of our buses fall into. We're a little bit different because we're a union shop of all things, and then sometimes KRT is in Charleston. We're paying roughly $23 an hour for our big bus operators, and they got a Class B CDL with passenger and air brakes endorsements, and so. Currently, right now, if you have that card, that CDL card, driver's license, that is a gold card.
Yes.
And so people are jumping from job to job to job. We've spent the last 4 years, probably the last 4 years, at least 4 to 5 drivers short. Since the pandemic, we've just been unbelievable. And a lot of times, we've been advised by our attorneys, we want to try to get a situation where, if I train you, hire you, train you, and get you your CDLs, and if you leave me, you're going to owe me X amount of dollars. For our attorney say, I'm out, you're probably not going to be able to do that being a public body. And so, we've had a big issue right now, even at the $23 an hour range, trying to get people to come work for us. And it's a hard job. They work crazy schedules, and they sometimes at the grassroots screener driving, trucking. And but in the Impala situation, we're seeing in the rural areas, we're seeing these situations where she's paying $14 an hour, and Chick-fil-A and everybody else is now up to $15, $16 an hour, even McDonald's in some cases. So it's an issue, and unfortunately, we've never had the problem in Huntington. As of right now, KRT in Charleston's had a number of times where they had to let buses set in the garage because they didn't have drivers for full hours.
Thank you for that. And just a comment to piggyback off the senator in Logan County talking about unsheltered or transient. St. Albans does have that issue, and we see from point A to point B, and a lot of verbiage around the neighborhoods are, where are they coming from? They're coming with backpacks, they have their bicycle strapped to the front of the bus, and they get off the bus in St. Albans, particularly in my case. How do we know that they're getting back on the bus and going back to where they come from, wherever they're based out of? Because it is an issue. It's an issue because they're coming into our town and we see them on the streets and sidewalks. Now we're seeing them in neighborhoods, and it's low-level crime that's coming. Backpacks come in weighing 5 pounds when they get off the bus, but they leave town weighing 50. Why is that? So I don't know if you record that information. Where are they coming from? Do they get back on the bus and go to another point? Do you record the passes, the tickets that are given to you from the shelters? Is there some way to code or record where they're coming from, and are they going back?
There's really no way of doing it because it's just public transit, but we're not saying, what we've seen in Huntington, when I was mentioning earlier, going out to bigger cities, that's being great now. We don't have anything like that. But with systems like ART and Huntington, I'll use Huntington as an example. We have Milton Clothing, street of Nova. And that, they do go between those communities on the bus. And I don't know how you isolate them or what you can do with them, to be honest with you.
Some are not unsheltered homes, some are just transit,
Yeah.
and there's a difference.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further questions for this presenter? I believe we've got the gentleman from the 76.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with the funding, let's say that you got $4 million, it's fair to say that that will leverage approximately $4 to $16 million in federal funding, depending on whether grants are 81 or 50.
That would be a fair proximity.
Okay. So that's what we can expect to have as far as expanded amounts of money that can come and help people. Okay. I know in Marion County, we have Marion County Transit, where that's run from, George Bisbee, that's great.
George, yeah, George is a great guy. Everybody loves
George
George.
retired recently, but, one of the routes I think we had Veterans Day yesterday, we have a route that goes to the VA in Marshall area. I'm assuming there are a lot of similar routes to the state of West Virginia that do use that. Is that right?
Yeah, we
Same
certainly
thing with,
have.
I mean, even homeless veterans, right?
Yes. There's one in Barbersville, in our area, there's a homeless center for the VAs in Barbersville. And then, of course, we have the VA center. And as a matter of fact, for us, that VA route is our #1 productive route.
Okay. And that gets a lot of use, right? Are there other places where that type of access can be presented in counties to get veterans to VA clinics, to get seniors to hospitals or other places that they can get some care they need?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm a 63-year-old dude.
To the gentleman, could you just speak up a little bit so we can hear you?
Are there other places that you can see, when you talk about expanding services, where you can also have routes to VA clinics? Being able to get seniors to hospitals or other healthcare facilities? I mean, are there some that you have in mind that you can think, each areas where you can find expansive help in those?
And I think if you get into your urban areas, I think we've got most of that covered. There's some places that we don't, but you're gonna find in the rural areas is where that's gonna be the most needed. And I think Paul can expand on that.
Myself, we use non-emergency transportation to get veterans to the veteran hospitals and to medical appointments. And on bus route, we do service the veterans area, the medical center there at Southbridge and South Charleston. We do go there. And we also meet, like I said, we meet. I'm kind of fortunate in my rural system. In theory, we can get someone all the way from Man and Omar to wherever TTA goes. I connect with Charleston and I connect with TTA. I can connect someone from all the way to Man, all the way to Morgantown with the myself, KRT, and I-79 bus. The rural systems, you're gonna find more that we feed to the bigger systems because they do have more service. But yes, we do, get service of VA centers.
And it sounded like you said earlier that you might be able to expand from 3 days to 5 days in different places, so people can get to one that's more days a week, right? Okay, last thing, are you guys familiar with the right to travel within the United States Constitution?
Well, and what more funding would allow me to be able to put more vehicles in that area also, especially Mason County. And a couple of years, Mason County is going to be a huge area for.
I kind of moved on a bit. I apologize. I appreciate that information. But one thing I want to make clear, you understand there's a right to travel within the United States Constitution. Like there's literally an article provision that says that states cannot interfere with people's right to travel. Are you guys familiar with that?
I am not completely familiar with that, but we work by that, yes.
And you don't necessarily, I mean, people don't have to have a chip installed or whatever within their hand in order to drive the bus.
We don't.
Thank you.
Correct.
Further questions, this presenter? Gentleman from Lincoln County.
Thank you very much. This also, expansion is more like Newport, Mason, to get employees to work, get construction workers to work at the new facility that the legislator supported. and the new battery plant and I hear close to us on the back. That's to help get those to work, right? The new plants, legislature puts much money into.
We would like these funds to support all economic growth throughout the state of West Virginia. We feel as though we see the beginning of a huge uptick in economic development with the addition of the solar plant, the company here, Nucor, all of these things that are happening. And we know that public transit is a fundamental resource in our ongoing development as a state.
Further questions, these presenters? The gentleman, or excuse me, the senator from Logan.
Yes. You mentioned CDLs. Yes. Do y'all, drug test your drivers?
Absolutely.
Do you see possibly with you being a bordering county to Ohio, do you see an issue with what Ohio just passed with recreational marijuana? And if I'm not mistaken, you're not allowed to have a CDL if you are positive, is that correct?
Yeah, as far as marijuana goes, it's a federal mandate and the rules, and so that will not change. It doesn't matter what Ohio has done, and we've made it very clear to our employees, recreational marijuana, you're still going to fall positive.
Even your medical marijuana too, correct?
Yeah. So you're sitting, it's a positive test, and our transit system and many of the others, there's zero tolerance. It's one time and you gotta go. And so we tried to do, first time will be on us and we'll get you some treatment and help. But we found the history has been, that didn't really work for the transit system. So they ended up following up again and having a problem. So it's zero tolerance now. I don't want somebody driving one of our buses that may endanger your family or your life. No, can't do it. And so, I can see in the bordering states where that may be an issue that we've made very clear to our employees. No matter what Ohio says, if you come and we test you, you're in bad trouble.
Yeah, and just for the record, the same thing goes for owning a gun.
Yeah.
You can't own a gun if you use medical or recreational, so. All right, thank you, Sheriff.
We would like to say, one thing before after we get away from there. People ride the bus for two reasons. They either want to spend money or make money. That's it.
Thank you. Further questions from the committee? If not, I've got maybe one or two. So there've been some discussion about some of the, dovetail into economic development and some of those items. On behalf of the state association, I know obviously, Newport's got thousands of construction workers, we're running 3 shifts. We've got, several major construction projects going on, and parking, I'm sure, can be a bit of a challenge and some of those sorts of things. Is the association, if we were to put forward dollars for this purpose, is the association willing to sort of tailor that to the needs, and priorities of the state? That's sort of my biggest question, is if we were able to put forward support, is the association willing to everybody get together and say, well, where the greatest need is for further economic development, for that to be where the dollars go?
I think, yeah.
I can't answer for the Division of Public Transit, but I think we made them a waiver about the legislature's request. Yes, I think they would do that. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for, but I don't want to answer for them for something.
Well, and there again, if we work with Nucor and some of these other things that are happening along the Ohio River, and we identify a need, and I know there's housing, and you read the paper already of the actual needs and things that are needed for all these construction jobs. If we find that people are moving further out from the Nucor area, let's say, for example, in the Putnam County, and we needed, and this became a priority for the state, help them commute to those jobs. And I think, we're actually, that's what we do.
Okay, and then my final question for y'all would be, I know some of it's 80-20 on capital expenditures. So 80% federal, 20% state, but you gotta come up with that 20% match. On some of your operations, it's 50-50 on some of those grants. I think the gentleman from Mercer was asking a few questions about what that mix looks like, but if it's half and half, I mean, what that would mean is that if your ask is $15 million, that would be matched by, I don't know, at least another 20 million, 20, 25, something like that.
Right. Operating and maintenance, yeah, that's what we do day to day, but there are grants out there available where we can replace equipment on the 80-20 side if we have a local match. But our hands are kind of tied, so we are leaving federal dollars on the table in the state of West Virginia.
Further questions? Hearing none. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right, to the committee, our next item on the agenda was to be Kelly Workman, Director, West Virginia Department of Economic Development, Office of Broadband, for an update on the BEAD plan. I was notified too late to modify the agenda that Director Workman and Secretary Carmichael would not be able to be here. But in all of your packets, you have the BEAD, which stands for Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment, Initial Proposal, Volume 2. There's a very, I know it looks like light reading, being like 140 pages, but I want to impress upon you and the public that this is out for public comment. Public comment closes November the 20th, and this plan, if approved, I think it has to be submitted in late December to the National Telecommunications Information Administration. This plan dictates how $1.2 billion will be spent for broadband in this state. So to everyone at home, we encourage comment. To all members of the committee, we encourage comment. I'm happy to sit down with any of you, and even we as members, if you would desire to put forward comment, and I would further very much encourage each and every one of you to reach out to the office with any questions that you may have on the means by which these dollars will be deployed. The gentleman from St. Albans.
Within this proposal, 1.2 billion, does it include money to be used within the municipalities, or is this for rural areas as well?
This is for any area denoted as eligible. So, well, I may not be the perfect person to answer that question. Perhaps Director Workman would be, but allow me to say that from a broadband expansion perspective, that's in areas that were approved on the mapping initiative done by the state, which largely is not within municipalities proper. However, there are dollars in there that can be used for what's considered the equity portion of that, BEAD, Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment. And in that portion, if the state were able to, as I understand it, if the state were able to guarantee that all the areas that don't presently have service got it, you can then get into everything from devices, improvement of access in other areas, and some of those sorts of things. But I'm probably not the authority to answer those questions. But there certainly is reason for folks within already served areas to pay close attention to this plan. Gentleman from the 82nd?
88, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could, just for the record, if I may, as you said, the comments are due on this no later than the 20th of this month. I did read through this nice volume here. I submitted a comment personally, and I'd encourage others to go do so. But the comment I submitted specifically was, I stated, I think it's imperative that the deployment sub-grantee select rubric, which is Appendix A1 found on page 137, needs to more than evaluate planned speed of deployment. It needs to score with a relatively high weighting importance the actual past performance of the offerer as measured by installations completed in the geographical areas to be served. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you to the gentleman for your comments. Anything on this miscellaneous business item? Because there's going to be probably 2 or 3 more that have come. Anything further? Okay. Next, there have been several members also under miscellaneous business to leave the committee. There have been several members that have reached out to me, both of this committee and of other committees, relating to the concerns from a technological standpoint with the state's emails. I wanted to advise the committee that I have met with the administration, governor's office, and with the Office of Technology. You're about to be emailed a letter which was sent to me by the Office of Technology detailing the present process and improvements they are looking to make, such that anytime the state is experiencing litigation, that we don't lose emails. Just to be direct, I'm also advised that while we've been here, that in the Legislative Oversight Commission on Health and Human Resources Accountability, that DHHR's General Counsel stated that litigation hold request was sent over to the West Virginia Office of Technology. I intend to get to the bottom of that because at least in the case of corrections, that according to sworn testimony was not the case. So look forward to looking at that and further stating to each and every one of you that we're already preparing legislation in coordination with the administration to make sure that, that things of this nature do not happen again, and that the state has a robust document retention and destruction policy regarding when emails should be kept, for how long, and when they should no longer be kept. So there will be a letter coming to each of you regarding that. Next item, I believe the senator from Mercer wished to give us an update on some efforts that he has been engaging in relating to how the state funds technology purchases and those sorts of things. So, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought the committee may be interested in this initiative I'm working on. It's been my experience that the IT infrastructure, which I believe is just as critical as water, sewer, highways, and all that, is very important. In my research, there is no government or executive branch oversight of IT upgrades, modernization, etc. Every agency does their own, so there's no coordination between them. I'm working on an initiative right now with the approval of the Speaker of the House, and Senate President, and the Governor's Office, to try to create a centralized model of governance of the IT infrastructure of all these various agencies. And I believe there's great efficiency and cost, perhaps. And we're trying to model some proposed legislation after other states who have a centralized model. And the concept would be that rather than every agency doing all their upgrades, and I'm talking about upgrades in hardware, software, not necessarily day-to-day IT. I think the current model encourages people to not upgrade because they have to get it out of this year's budget. So there's always a reason to put it off another year, another year, another year. If we had a centralized model with its own budget, then all the agencies would come to a centralized governance panel or committee or something like that. And the funding that was going to all the various agencies would be pulled into one large pool, which could be supplemented, of course, with supplementals or whatever. But that's the new model that I'm proposing that we ought to restructure. Then you have economy of scale or larger purchases, and some agencies wouldn't get 20 years behind, as I see now. And I thought if this committee would be interested in hearing about that concept, if anybody has any ideas or recommendations on how to execute that, I hope to have something ready for our next session.
Any questions of the senator from Mercer? Comment? If not, Chair's advised that the analyst would like to address the committee, so Chair would ask unanimous consent to allow the analyst to address the committee. Hearing none, go ahead.
All right, awesome. So as you guys have been aware, since I've been on board, we've been doing a lot of work with SpaceX. We were bringing the Starlink demonstration to the Capitol. That was real successful. And so in appreciation, the people at SpaceX wanted to send a little gift to Chairman Linville here. This is a United States flag that actually flew in space. It reads as follows. Presented to Daniel Linville on March 24th of 2021. This flag flew in space on the Starlink 22 mission that brought 60 SpaceX high-speed, low-latency latency broadband satellites to orbit and mark the 114th successful Falcon 9 launch from SpaceX.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Thank you, SpaceX.
There you go. Put back in this.
There you go. All right, folks. Is there any further miscellaneous business to come before the committee at this time? If not, Chair looks to the Senator from Logan for purchase of motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Senator from Logan moves to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, you can stay. We're adjourned.